Let's start with a simple example, listing the sales from a small flower shop for the month. Business data is often formatted as a list or table. Our table includes the type of bouquet, quantity sold, the price for just one bouquet, called the unit price, and the sales value, which is the quantity multiplied by the unit price. These four values are called fields, and the first row is called a header row. The first product is a premium red rose bouquet, quantity 100, at $60 each, and we'll use a formula to calculate the total sales value. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Note how the text runs over the edge of its column into the next cell and is cut off. Once all of the data is entered, we'll clean up the formatting so it looks better. The next product is a standard dozen red roses. 250 were sold at a price of $40 each. I've entered a few more rows of data. And let's talk about worksheet structure. This is cell B5 with the quantity 35 in it. It's cell B5 because it's in column B, row 5. And it looks like I made a typo in cell A6. There are a couple of ways to correct the data. I select the cell and I can go up to the formula bar, or I can just double click. And Excel allows me to edit the data. Now let's calculate the value for the total sales. It's calculated by multiplying the quantity by the unit price. When entering a formula in Excel to make a calculation, always begin with an equal sign, like this. Next, use the mouse to click on the cell B2, which contains the quantity. Then enter the asterisk, which is usually above the 8 on most keyboards, to mean multiplication. Then click on the cell C2 for the unit price, and press enter. Excel calculates the value at $6,000. And places the result of the calculation in cell D2, and in the formula bar, you can see the actual formula itself, B2 times C2. Let's copy it down. I can use Control-C to copy, and Control-V to paste. But there's a better way. I can also click on this handle here. Note how the cursor changes. And I can just drag and drop. Or I can just double-click on the handle and go all the way to the end of the data rows. Let's look at this formula here. Note how Excel has maintained the relative reference. It's always multiplying the two values in the columns left of it. We started with B2 times C2, and we end up at the bottom with B6 times C6. Now it's time to format the data in the worksheet, so it looks good. Let's start with the column width. It's easy to widen the first column to show all of the text. Simply click on the divider between the columns, between column A and B, and drag it right where you want it. Or even better, just double-click on the divider, and Excel automatically formats the column so that it's just wide enough. Let's move it back, and I'll show you another trick. Select all of the columns, and double-click on the divider on the rightmost column. Excel resizes all of the columns to the appropriate width. Let's change the font size and style for the header row. I select the data by clicking on cell A1 and dragging across to select all of the cells. This section of the ribbon controls the font style, and this section controls alignment, like left, right, and center. So here's left, here's right, here's center, and let's return it back to left. For the font, let's click on the B to make it bold, and let's try a bigger font size. When I use the pull down, and Excel shows a preview as I look at different numbers. Let's try 14. It's a little too big, so let's try 12. And let's resize the columns. So again, I select all of the columns and double-click on the far right to resize them all at once. These values have inconsistent decimals. Let's harmonize them so that they all have 2 places past the decimal point. Number formats are controlled in this section. Common format controls are here, and the full list is here. To change the decimals, I click on this icon to increase. Went too far, let's decrease by 1. And let's do the same thing in column D. Here's a trick. If I want to copy the format from one place to another, I select the source format, click on this icon for Format Painter, and then select the target. And Excel updates the number formats, the alignment formats, and the font formats. Let's finish the formatting by putting a border around each cell. First, select all of the cells to be formatted. Click on any of the cells with data. Then use Control-A from the keyboard to select all of the data in the table range. Click on the borders icon and go down to all borders. Now that looks much better.